Parents were obsessed with the idea of my sister marrying into old money. They even pressured her to drop out of her senior year of high school to focus on finding a rich husband. In my past life, I did everything to stop them. Dad, Mom, women need to be independent these days. Besides, even rich families care about a degree, I argued. Because of my interference, they gave up on the idea. But things didn't go as planned. Lana didn't marry into money. Instead, she fell for some local thug with bleached hair. During college, her marriage was a nightmare of domestic violence. My mother blamed me for everything. It's all your fault, you jinx. If we hadn't listened to you, your sister would be living the high life right now. My father screamed at me, too. You just wanted to ruin her life. I couldn't stand to see her doing better than you. Could you? Lana believed them. She truly thought I was the one who destroyed her future. One late night, she cornered me with a knife and hacked me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back. It was the exact day my mother was trying to convince Lana to drop out. Mom, I don't want to get married. I want to go to college and see the world. What do you know? For a woman, a good marriage is the only thing that matters. The familiar sound of sobbing hit my ears, followed by a sharp slap. I looked up and saw my mother's hand across Lana's face. It was the same scene all over again. My father sat nearby, puffing on a cheap cigar. Seeing me dazed, he tapped the hot ash near my forehead and barked. What are you staring at? Tell your sister to listen. These days, nothing beats a rich husband. You're already a lost cause. Do you want your sister to end up a failure like you? His words turned the whole family's gaze toward me. My heart skipped a beat, a cold shiver running down my spine. My grandmother looked worried, her wrinkled face full of anxiety. Fiona, you're the educated one. Talk to your parents. Who pulls a kid out of school to force a marriage? People will talk. I remembered what I said in my last life. I had believed Lana should study, that self-reliance was the only way. I got slapped for it then. This time my mother was faster. She swiped at my head and let out a cold snort. What's the point of asking her? She can't land a rich man herself, so of course, she doesn't want Lana to succeed. Let me tell you, the Galloways are looking for a daughter-in-law. Mrs. Galloway said a woman's virtue is in her simplicity. She likes Lana because she's pretty and looks like she'll have many children. My mother held her head high, acting as if this was the greatest honor in the world. Even Lana stopped her protesting. My grandmother's resolve began to waver. The Galloways were the wealthiest family in the county. Getting married to them, or even just getting a job at their estate was a dream. For people like us. I knew exactly what they were doing. They were waiting for me to speak. Whether she married or not, they would find a way to blame me. After all, I was just the adopted daughter. Lana's anger vanished. She grabbed my hand. I'll listen to Fiona. She's been working in the city. She knows more about the world. My parents glared at me. I knew if I said the wrong word, they'd beat me senseless. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to stand tall. Lana is so lucky. I'm happy for her. You should listen to Mom, Lana. She only wants what's best for you. I chose the opposite answer for my last life. My mother let out a sigh of relief, and actually smiled at me. My father patted the spot he had just hit and grinned. I knew Fiona was a sensible girl. Don't take what happened earlier to heart. We were just worried your sister would take the wrong path. They put on their fake happy masks again. They acted like we were one big loving family. As I recalled their faces from my previous life, back then, my mother promoted this marriage like it was a holy blessing. She attacked anyone who disagreed, and I was the one who stood up. I didn't want Lana trapped in this backwater town. I tried to explain the reality of the situation to my parents. Dad, Mom, women need to be independent these days. Besides, even rich families care about a degree. My words made my father hesitate. He knew better than anyone that a respectable career was the only real security in this world. My grandmother, who was already against the idea, pulled Lana into her arms, cuddling her. Did you hear that? Fiona said education is the only way out. Don't you dare ruin my granddaughter's life. Back then, my mother looked at me with pure hatred. She stayed silent, but her eyes screamed that I should mind my own business. Grandmother defended me, but she also made sure to remind everyone it was my idea. If anything went wrong later, I was the target. Half the family was against it, so the idea of Lana dropping out died there. I was genuinely happy for Lana. I even secretly gave her all the money I had saved up. Lana, you have to get out of this town. Make something of yourself. But as soon as she left for college, she fell for a deadbeat with bleached hair. By the time we found out, Lana was already pregnant. My parents couldn't stand the shame, so they rushed a wedding and married her off. The guy had no job, and lived off his parents. He wasn't even a college student. He was just a thug hanging around the campus area. Lana tried to fight back when she realized she'd been tricked, but he beat her until she was covered in bruises. I couldn't help her from so far away. She lived in that hell for 2 years before she finally ran back home. My mother hugged her precious daughter, her eyes burning with a rage that directed toward me. It's all your fault, you jinx. If we hadn't listened to you, your sister would be living the high life right now. My father didn't hesitate to kick me to the ground. You just wanted to ruin her life. You couldn't stand to see her doing better than you, could you, you black-hearted brat? My poor Lana, grandmother wailed, but not for me. She was so heartbroken for Lana that she forgot she was the one who had agreed with me. I became the villain. I ignored the pain and begged for forgiveness. I didn't dare say a word against Lana. I knew she had ruined her own life by not studying, but I had to take the blame. If I didn't, my parents would actually kill me. Seeing me so submissive only fueled my mother's anger. She thought I was acting guilty because I knew I was wrong. She and my father dragged me to the tool shed, stuffed a rag in my mouth and beat me together. Grandmother was too old to do much, but she still hit me with a broom over and over again. The nightmare didn't end until nightfall. I lay on the dirt floor gasping for air when Lana appeared in the moonlight. She held a knife that shimmered with a deadly chill. She lunged at me. As the blade sank in, I heard her scream, "It's all because of you. You ruined my beautiful life." Blood sprayed across her face. That was the first time I saw my sister for who she really was, a monster. "What are you daydreaming about? Don't think a few nice words gets you out of cooking, you lazy brat." My mother kicked me in the hip, breaking my train of thought. I nodded obediently and hurried to the kitchen. Since the family was in agreement, they were going to discuss Lana's withdrawal from school. It was better if I wasn't there. The more you know, the faster you die. Being alive again made me feel surprisingly cheerful. I even went to the market to buy some high-quality steak. Since Lana wasn't going to school, I didn't need to save money for her. I'd rather throw my money to the dogs than give it to that ungrateful snake. On the way, the local women saw me in a good mood and stopped to ask about Lana's studies. She was the village's best hope for a college graduate, but now that path was blocked. I lowered my head, acting nervous, as I whispered to one of the aunts, "Auntie, what kind of family are the Galloways really?" Village women love gossip. A few minutes of chatting can reveal everything. Hearing my question, the woman pulled me aside and whispered in my ear, "Fiona, you heard about them looking for a bride, didn't you? Let me tell you, don't get tricked just because you're about to graduate. Their grandson already has a girlfriend, but his mother is old school and stubborn. She refuses to accept her, and wants a girl from the country who's easy to control. She thinks the country girl will be better for breeding. It's obvious she just wants someone she can bully. Besides, the son isn't going to listen to his mother forever." Those few words solved all my doubts. I thanked her and hurried home. And my mother probably knew this, but she was too arrogant. She figured she could dominate the Galloways the same way she dominated us. Otherwise, she would have tried to push me onto them. Not Lana. In this house, I was the one who was always sacrificed. I pushed down the bitterness and walked into the house with a smile. As soon as I stepped inside, a heavy ceramic mug flew through the air. It hit me square in the forehead, drawing blood instantly. I didn't even try to dodge. I wiped the blood away and gritted my teeth. "Dad, Mom, what happened?" "You worthless brat. We told you to cook, and you've been running around all day. Don't think your fancy education gives you wings. You'll be a slave to this family forever." My mother sneered at me. I only got to go to college because the villagers convinced them it would make me more valuable, so I could send more money home. They never stopped thinking of ways to sell me off for a good price. I couldn't get angry. I couldn't repeat the mistakes of my past life. I repeated that to myself as I held up the meat. "Dad, Mom, Grandma, I saw we were having a celebration, so I bought some good steak for us." Seeing the food, my mother's anger vanished. She gave a grunt of approval. My father ran over to pick up the mug, smiling at me. Fiona has always been a good girl. That smile made my skin crawl. It was always like this, one parent playing the villain, the other the hero. But my father was the real wolf in sheep's clothing in my last life. He was the one who coldly disposed of my body, hiding me behind the walls of the tool shed. I felt a soul-deep fear of him, but I kept my cool and walked into the kitchen as I washed the vegetables. Tears hit the leaves. I hadn't even realized I was crying. After dinner, Lana had calmed down. She had fully accepted her new status as a bride-to-be and was already dreaming of a wealthy future. Seeing me working with a scar on my face, she walked over with a look of fake pity. "Don't be too jealous, sis. I'm the biological daughter, after all. Only natural for them to look out for me. You should really watch your looks, though. With that scar, you might never get married because of our parents." Lana had always looked down on me. She truly believed I was born low class and meant to be under her heel. Grandmother was thrilled. She pushed me aside and stuffed some old jewelry into Lana's hands. "These are Grandma's treasures. I won't let anyone look down on my granddaughter." When I needed tuition, we were broke. When Lana was getting married, they were terrified she'd feel slighted. I was used to it, but it still stung. They didn't even bother to hide their conversation from me. They excitedly discussed the wedding details, acting as if the deal was already done. The next morning, my parents dressed Lana up like a doll. They had an appointment to meet the Galloway couple and were determined to seal the deal. Surprisingly, they took me along. Lana held her chin high. "You'll never live a life like this, Fiona. But there's no harm in letting you see it." It was Monday. She skipped school without a second thought. When the principal called, she actually yelled into the phone, "School is for people who have to work for a living. My future is being a wealthy socialite." When she saw the Galloways' massive estate, Lana was even more convinced she was doing the right thing. "You didn't miss a chance to put me down. Just look, Fiona. Don't touch anything. You couldn't afford to replace it, even if you worked for the rest of your life." She was reminding me that she was the one getting married. I kept my head down. No matter how much money they had, marriage should be between equals. When we met the Galloways, I finally looked up. Just as I suspected, their son wasn't there. A modern man like him would never agree to an arranged marriage. Lana was walking into a nightmare. According to my memory, he would be leaving the country with his girlfriend in just a few days. I kept my mouth shut. Lana, on the other hand, was being paraded around like a piece of livestock. Not bad. Wide hips. She'll be a good breeder. I heard she made it to high school, so she won't be completely ignorant. Let's do it. Mrs. Galloway spoke, and my mother was overjoyed. She kicked me, and the whole family bowed in gratitude. In a normal family, the groom's side would be begging for the hand of the daughter. My mother made it look like Lana was becoming a servant. I watched them make their verbal promises. Lana was blushing, not even caring what her groom was like, or if he even wanted her on the way back. My parents kept lecturing me. We only took you there to show you the world. Don't try to compete with your sister, and don't think about running off with some man. We don't expect you to be like Lana, but you owe us. For all these years, I pretended to be frustrated inside. Dad, Mom, I've studied all these years, and I'll never have a chance at a family like that. You can't just think about Lana. I needed to get some money and get back to school immediately. By the time my parents realized the marriage was off, it would be too late. Seeing my reaction, Lana got nervous and begged our parents to let me leave. I was only supposed to be home for a few days of leave. My parents, wanting to keep Lana happy, agreed. After watching them officially withdraw Lana from school, I boarded a train back to the city. The moment the train started moving, I sobbed until I couldn't breathe. I had finally escaped the wolf's den, and I was never coming back. Lana called me every day, bragging about how rich the Galloways were, and how she'd have maids to serve her. I gave her vague responses until the day the phone rang with a frantic, angry scream. I held the phone away from my ear as Lana shrieked, "You bitch. You were the one who told Mom to let me drop out. You bitch. You were the one who told Mom to let me drop out." I calmly lowered the phone from my ear. "Lana, what happened?" "What happened?" she shrieked. "The Galloways cancelled the engagement." I almost laughed. So it had happened. The Galloway son had left the country with his girlfriend exactly as I remembered. The moment Mrs. Galloway discovered her precious son had no intention of marrying Lana, the entire arrangement had fallen apart. But Mom said, "Your mother was wrong," I interrupted. Silence. Then Lana started crying. "You knew this would happen, didn't you?" "No." "You're lying." I smiled faintly. "I've been gone for weeks. How could I possibly know?" She didn't answer. Instead, she began screaming that I had ruined everything again. I hung up. For the first time in 2 lives, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't warn Lana. I didn't save Lana. And I certainly wasn't going to take responsibility for Lana. A few days later, my mother called. Her voice was unusually gentle. "Fiona, come home." I nearly laughed. "What for?" "Your sister is having a hard time. She needs family." I looked at the acceptance letter sitting on my desk. I had already re-enrolled in college. I'd also found a part-time job and rented a tiny room near campus. My new life had already begun. "I can't." My mother's voice instantly turned cold. "You ungrateful brat. Your sister's future has been destroyed because of you." I calmly replied, "No, Mom. Her future was destroyed because she dropped out of school and married a man she barely knew. You." And the Galloway marriage failed because their son already had someone he loved. Silence. Then my mother whispered, "How did you know?" I smiled. "I didn't." I hung up. That evening, I received another call. This time, it was Lana. She wasn't crying. She was furious. "You knew the Galloway boy had a girlfriend." "No." "You're lying." "Lana, if I knew, why would I encourage you to marry into that family?" She froze. I continued calmly. "You wanted this. Mom wanted this. Dad wanted this. Grandma agreed to it." I simply stopped interfering. "You're enjoying this." I looked out the window at the city lights. Yes. The silence on the other end was immediate. For once, I didn't pretend. "I spent my last life trying to save you," I said. "You repaid me by murdering me." Lana stopped breathing. "What?" I realized my mistake. I quickly corrected myself. "I mean, you repaid me by blaming me for your choices." She was silent for several seconds. Then she screamed, "You really think you're better than me?" "No." I smiled. "I just finally understand that you're responsible for yourself." I ended the call. And that was when my second life truly began. I focused on school. I worked during the evenings. Within 6 months, I had enough money to move into a better apartment. A year later, I graduated near the top of my class. Meanwhile, my family situation deteriorated. The Galloways refused to speak to them. The village gossip spread quickly. Everyone knew Lana had dropped out of school because she thought she was marrying into wealth. Then, everyone learned the marriage had never existed. My mother became a laughingstock. My father stopped attending village gatherings. Grandmother stopped defending Lana. And Lana? She blamed everyone except herself. She demanded that my parents find her another wealthy husband. They tried. But this time nobody was interested. She had no diploma, no career, no savings. And now everyone knew she had been rejected by the Galloways. Then one afternoon, I received an unexpected message. It was from Mrs. Galloway. "Fiona, I'd like to speak with you." I stared at the screen. In my previous life, I had never spoken to her privately. I agreed to meet. When I arrived at her estate, she studied me carefully. "You're the adopted daughter." "Yes." "You are the only one who didn't seem excited about my son's marriage." I smiled. "Because I knew your son didn't want it." Her expression changed. "You knew." I suspected. She studied me for a long moment. Then she said something I never expected. "You're the kind of woman I wanted for my family." I nearly laughed. "I'm not interested in marrying your son." She smiled. "I didn't say marriage." She slid a folder across the table. "My company is expanding. We need someone with your education and work ethic." I opened the folder. It was a job offer. A very good one. For the first time, I realized something important. In my previous life, I had wasted years trying to drag my family toward a better future. This time I was going to build my own. I accepted the offer. And when my mother found out, she called me screaming. "You stole Lana's chance." I looked at the city skyline outside my office window. "No, Mom." I simply stopped giving her mine. Then I hung up. For once, the future belonged entirely
To me.
The call ended. For the first time, I thought the nightmare was finally over. I was wrong. 3 months later, everything exploded. It started with my father. He had borrowed money from the wrong people, convinced that once Lana married into wealth, he could repay every debt. When the Galloway marriage collapsed, those debts came due. One night, he disappeared. The next morning, the village was buzzing. My father had fled in the middle of the night, but he never made it far. His car had crashed on a mountain road during a storm. When the police called my mother, she collapsed. My father was dead. I stared at the phone in silence. In my previous life, he had been the man who hid my body. Now, before I ever had the chance to confront him, fate had taken him away. But the chaos didn't stop there. My mother blamed Lana. Lana blamed me. And Grandma blamed everyone. The family tore itself apart. Then Lana made the worst decision of her life. She discovered that the Galloway son had returned to the country with his girlfriend. Desperate and furious, Lana stormed onto their property. She screamed at him in front of everyone. "You ruined my life." He calmly told her to leave. She refused. The argument became so loud that the entire household came outside. Lana lost control. She grabbed the keys to one of the cars and sped away. Minutes later, the phone rang. There had been an accident. Lana had lost control on the wet road. She died before reaching the hospital. When I heard the news, I couldn't speak. My sister, the girl who had once killed me, gone. I thought I would feel satisfaction. Instead, I felt empty. Then Grandma received the news. Her heart couldn't take it. She collapsed that same evening. The doctors tried everything, but she passed away before midnight. 3 members of my family were gone within months. The village called it a curse. Some said the family had finally received its punishment. But I knew the truth. It wasn't a curse. It was a lifetime of terrible choices finally catching up with them. Weeks later, I returned to my hometown for the funerals. My mother was sitting alone beneath the old mango tree. Her hair had turned completely white. When she saw me, she started laughing. "You survived." I stared at her. She wiped her tears. "Everyone else is gone, and somehow you survived." I didn't answer. She lowered her head. "I spent my whole life trying to make Lana happy." Her voice cracked. "And I destroyed the daughter, who actually loved me." For the first time, she looked genuinely ashamed. "I was wrong, Fiona." I quietly replied, "I know." She looked up. "Can you forgive me?" I thought about my first life. The beating. The shed. The knife. The blood. Then I thought about the woman I had become. "I forgive you," I said. Her eyes filled with tears. "But I won't come back." I turned around and walked away. Behind me, my mother remained beneath the tree, finally forced to live with the consequences of everything she had done. I never returned to that house. I never looked back. And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I was finally free.